In this chapter, we're going to be talking about text file processing. But before we can get into the nuts and bolts of that, we need to talk about exception handling. The reason we need to do that is because when we're working with text files, there are a lot of opportunities for our program to throw exceptions. And by that, I mean cause errors due to things like a file not existing or a file not being able to be opened. All those things require exception handling, and in fact, the classes that we're going to use for text file processing will require us to at least make an attempt at exception handling by referencing it in our programs. So I thought this would be a good time to show you how to handle exceptions using something called the try-catch statement. So first, let's look at a simple program I've written. It simply asks for a numerator and a denominator and then performs a division expression and then displays the result. So let's run the program a couple of times. Clear the screen, compile it, and let's run it. So the numerator is 6, the denominator is 3, and the result is 2. Now let's run it again. This time we'll enter 12 as the numerator and 0 as the denominator. And you'll see that we get an exception when we run that. Exception in thread main, java.lang.arithmeticException, divide by 0. The compiler recognized that the denominator's value was 0 and knows that you cannot divide by 0 in Java, so it threw that exception. And what we want to do when something like that happens is have our program handle it so that the program doesn't crash and take us back to the operating system, but perhaps gives the user a chance to enter some more data to fix the problem. For example, in this case, entering another denominator. So let's see how to do that by first of all looking at the general form of the try-catch statement, which is how we handle exceptions in Java. So we have the keyword try, followed by the set of statements we want to run that may cause an exception. Then underneath that, we have a catch statement, which takes as an argument an exception object. And then we run this set of statements if the exception is thrown and caught. And then we can do the same thing more than once. So we can have several catch statements in one program, as many as we need. All right, so that wraps up how the try-catch works. Now let's see how to use it in the program. One of the problems with the try-catch statement is that if we don't declare variables inside the try, then it doesn't recognize them because it's out of the scope, or the variables are out of scope. So what we need to do for these two sets of variables, at least for our numerator, denominator, result, and our input object, we need to move them above public static void main into what's called the global area. And then just like methods, we have to declare these variables as static because they're not part of a class. They exist for the whole program. This is the same situation we had with methods earlier in the course. Okay, so now we're ready to add the try-catch. So we'll put the try right here. Then we're going to indent our program inside the try. Then we'll add our catch. And our catch is going to take an arithmetic exception object, and we'll call it AE. And what we'll do is we'll write a little message. Try again. Then we'll prompt the user to enter a new denominator. We'll get the denominator. Then we'll perform the division again, and then display the result. Close off the catch, and that should be all we need. So let's save the program, clear the screen, compile again, and then run. 12, 0. You tried to divide by 0. Try again, enter a new denominator, we'll do 2, and the result is 6. So that's how exception handling is performed. Sometimes you can put this in a loop also so that if the user keeps entering a bad denominator, you can catch it again. Notice we're only catching it one time here because the program is moving from top to bottom. So in a loop, we might catch it over and over again if they keep making a mistake. but all I really wanted to do here was just demonstrate how try-catch works and how to use it with exception handling. So that is how try-catch works. And now we're ready to move on to the next lesson where we're going to introduce text file processing.